The playful, biting notes of Tom Lehrer's piano have fallen silent, but their resonance lingers like a mischievous grin in the air. Thomas Andrew Lehrer, a musical satirist, mathematician, and reluctant icon, passed away on July 26, 2025, at the remarkable age of 97, leaving a legacy as sharp and singular as his songs. With a mere 37 tunes, he skewered the absurdities of the 1950s and 1960s: war, religion, racism, and even pigeons, with a wit so incisive it still cuts through today's noise. His life was a tapestry of contradictions: a Harvard prodigy who mocked academia, a performer who shunned fame, a teacher who inspired without preaching. Today, we'll unravel his story, his age, family, net worth, lifestyle, and the quiet end of a man who made the world laugh at its own folly. This is the tale of Tom Lehrer, a genius who danced to his own tune, and we're honored to share it. So, let's step into his world, where humor and truth collide. Born on April 9, 1928, in Manhattan's Upper East Side, Tom Lehrer was 97 when he passed away in his Cambridge, Massachusetts, home, a city that became his intellectual and creative haven. Raised in a secular Jewish family, he was the son of Morris James Lehrer, a necktie manufacturer, and Anna Lehrer, née Waller. His younger brother, Barry Waller Lehrer, born in 1930, passed away in 2007, leaving Tom as the last of his immediate family. His parents' divorce when he was 14 shaped a childhood already marked by brilliance and restlessness. A child prodigy, Tom began classical piano lessons at 7, but the staid world of Beethoven couldn't hold him. He gravitated to the pop music of Cole Porter and Rodgers and Hammerstein, studying with a popular music piano teacher who unlocked his creative spark. By his teens, he was crafting show tunes, a foundation for the satirical gems he'd later unleash. At Horace Mann School in the Bronx, he honed his intellect, graduating at 15 from Loomis School in Connecticut. That same year, 1943, he entered Harvard College, a wunderkind among older peers, earning a BA in mathematics in 1946 and an MA in 1947. His academic path took him to Los Alamos, MIT, and Wellesley, but music became his rebellion. His death, reported by the New York Times and echoed in heartfelt posts on X, was attributed to natural causes tied to his advanced age, a serene close for a man whose life crackled with wit. Lehrer's family life was a fortress of privacy, as guarded as a state secret. He never married, had no children, and kept personal details under lock and key. "I was one of the most private people I've ever met," said Jamie Harvey, a former student, in a 2014 BuzzFeed interview, capturing Lehrer's enigmatic nature. His parents' split left a mark, but he rarely spoke of it, and little is known about his relationship with his brother Barry beyond their shared childhood. In a 2007 conversation with fan Jeff Morris, Lehrer brushed off questions about his legacy, saying, "I don't have a family," when asked who would manage his copyrights. He chose instead to place his songs in the public domain in 2020, a radical act of generosity that ensured his work, like The Vatican Rag and We'll All Go Together When We Go, would live freely, unburdened by heirs or estates. His true family was his community of fans, students, and intellectual peers, from Harvard classmates who laughed at his early parodies to the millions who discovered his records through word of mouth. On X, fans like @ATienCode4 called him a perfectionist of political satire, while @Joe_A_Blevins, who used Lehrer's image as an avatar, credited his music for shaping his life, a testament to the bonds he forged without traditional ties. Lehrer's lifestyle was a study in contrasts, cerebral yet unpretentious, vibrant yet reclusive. He split his later years between Cambridge, Massachusetts, where he lived near Harvard, and Santa Cruz, California, where he taught at UC Santa Cruz from 1972 to 2001. His Cambridge home was a scholar's retreat, stuffed with books, records, and a Noel Coward shrine, as Jeff Morris noted, reflecting his love for musical theater. Lehrer drove a modest Dodge Dart in the 1980s, a far cry from the rock star excess of his contemporaries, and preferred quiet evenings to Hollywood glitz. His passions were eclectic: Stephen Sondheim's lyrics, which he considered the pinnacle of English-language songwriting, mathematical puzzles, a nod to his Harvard training, and the occasional indulgence in Broadway's golden age. He and Sondheim had crossed paths as children at Camp Androscoggin in the 1930s, a connection renewed decades later. At UC Santa Cruz, he taught mathematics and musical theater, blending disciplines with a performer's flair. Students described his lectures as performance art, weaving humor and rigor into lessons on calculus or Oklahoma. His atheism, rooted in his secular Jewish upbringing, fueled his irreverence, but he avoided personal crusades, letting songs like "Poisoning Pigeons in the Park" speak for him. After retiring from performing in 1965, he made rare exceptions, like a 1998 London Gala for Cameron Mackintosh, but otherwise lived quietly, content to let his music outlive him. His net worth, estimated between $1.5 million and $10 million at the time of his death, was modest for a man of his cultural stature, a reflection of his disdain for commercialism. Sources like Wikilogy and net worth post peg it closer to $1.5 million to $5 million, with higher figures like $10 million from wikispro.com likely inflated by unverified claims, such as Yeezy sneaker earnings, which are irrelevant to his career. His wealth stemmed from record sales. Hundreds of thousands of copies sold through grassroots fandom, despite minimal radio play due to his provocative lyrics. Albums like Songs by Tom Lehrer, 1953, More of Tom Lehrer, 1959, and That Was the Year That Was, 1965, were cult hits, with The Remains of Tom Lehrer, 2000, boosting later royalties. His songs appeared in films like A Gathering of Eagles, 1963, and he wrote for the Electric Company, adding to his income. Teaching at UC Santa Cruz provided a steady salary, but Lehrer was famously frugal. In 2007, he told Jeff Morris, "I don't need to make money after I'm dead," rejecting a proposed biography to avoid exploiting his fame. His 2020 public domain release was a final snub to profit, ensuring his work remained free. Yet, his influence was priceless, shaping satirists like Weird Al Yankovic, Bo Burnham, and Liz Winstead of The Daily Show. Lehrer's biography is a whirlwind of intellect, humor, and defiance. A Harvard freshman at 15, he submitted a Gilbert and Sullivan-style poem to Scholastic magazine in 1943, his first published work, a cheeky ode to getting into Harvard. By 1946, he had a BA in mathematics, followed by an MA in 1947, and taught at MIT, Harvard, and Wellesley while pursuing a PhD. His Army service from 1955 to 1957 at the National Security Agency was a comedic footnote. He joked about making coffee, not cracking codes. His musical career began with Songs by Tom Lehrer, recorded for $15 in 1953, a DIY effort that sold modestly until a 1954 Boston nightclub performance caught Isaac Asimov's attention, sparking wider acclaim. Songs like The Irish Ballad, about a maid who murders her family, and Fight Fiercely, Harvard, a mock fight song, showcased his dark humor. In the 1960s, he wrote for That Was the Week That Was, tackling civil rights, nuclear war, and Vatican II with songs like The Folksong Army and Werner von Braun. He retired from performing in 1965, disillusioned by the counterculture's aesthetics, though he shared its politics. "It takes courage to come out for peace and justice," he deadpanned, mocking folk singers' sanctimony. At UC Santa Cruz, he taught courses like The American Musical, mentoring students with the same wit that made The Elements a chemistry class staple. His 2020 public domain release was a final gift, as he told Morris, "I'm fine with that." Lehrer's satire was fearless, targeting sacred cows, the church, the military, the Boy Scouts, with a glee that shocked and delighted. The New York Times called him more desperate than amusing, but fans disagreed, buying records by the thousands. His lyrics, like I Hold Your Hand in Mine about a severed hand, were musical theater with a macabre twist, performed with classical piano virtuosity. He influenced modern satire, with Bo Burnham as a clearer air, per the Harvard Crimson, for his irreverent wit. Lehrer's 2003 quip, "Political satire became obsolete when Henry Kissinger won the Nobel Peace Prize," captured his frustration with a world too absurd to parody. Yet, his songs remained prophetic, with Send the Marines and Pollution eerily relevant today. His Harvard circle included historian Arthur Schlesinger Jr., and he admired Adlai Stevenson, that egghead Democrat, reflecting his Ivy League liberal roots. He avoided the New Left's chaos, preferring the square, suit-wearing left, but his music spoke to rebels and thinkers alike. When Lehrer passed on July 26, 2025, the world mourned a singular voice. Ex-posts from users like @Heminator, who called him a true genius, and @Joe_A_Blevins, who credited his music for lifelong inspiration, flooded the platform. The New York Times obituary highlighted his dark streak, noting songs like Poisoning Pigeons in the Park as gleefully subversive. No specific cause beyond age-related decline was cited, fitting for a man who slipped away as quietly as he lived. His final years were spent in Cambridge, surrounded by books and memories, far from the stage he'd abandoned decades earlier. Fans recalled his generosity, sharing master tapes with Morris, declining to monetize his legacy, and his humor, like his quip about Mozart being dead at his age. Radio stations played The Elements, and students at UC Santa Cruz shared stories of his lectures, where he'd dissect Broadway with the same precision he brought to calculus. Tom Lehrer's life was a masterclass in living authentically. He could have chased fame, but chose teaching, touching lives at UC Santa Cruz and Harvard. His songs, though few, were cultural dynamite, blowing up conventions and inspiring satirists to push boundaries. He lived simply, loved deeply in his own way, and gave his art freely, a final act of defiance against a world obsessed with profit. His legacy is in every chuckle at the Vatican rag, every classroom where The Elements sparks curiosity, every listener who questions authority because of his words. As he said, if his songs inspired one human being to say something nasty to a friend, it was worth it. For Lehrer, it was always about the idea, not the applause. If his wit, his music, or his quiet rebellion moves you, please like this video and subscribe for more stories of those who dared to be different. Thank you for joining me in honoring Tom Lehrer, a man who made the world laugh and think, and until next time, let's keep his mischievous spirit alive.